Before we welcome Chuck to the stage, please enjoy this short video which highlights his commitment to Harlem lacrosse.
Chuck is extremely caring. He is very intense. He can be incredibly passionate.
You know, his life could have gone a lot of different directions. He ended up coming to Penn, mostly because of lacrosse. I think as a man is shaped in part by the experience he had playing lacrosse here at Penn. And he wants other people to be able to experience that and develop in similar ways.
When Chuck first approached me about the idea of coaching at Harlem Lacrosse, I really was happy for him because I knew this was something that he had always looked forward to, and I was excited to be able to make that happen.
Now that he's been coaching, he always goes into the details of how the game went, how he's excited to get back on the field. He is a very detail-oriented and driven person, so I can imagine that when he wakes up in the morning and it's a game day, for example, he'll be immediately going through his thoughts for how to make sure that the team succeeds and thinking about what he needs to do in order to support them.
Coach Chuck sees something in us that we don't even see in ourselves.
He has a passion for supporting young student athletes in their road to finding their own avenues for success. And I think for him to feel like it's a little bit more hands-on and see that immediate impact and growth is extremely rewarding.
Once you get to know Coach Chuck, you really start to see someone that's there in your life, you know? You could be going through things, but Coach Chuck is always there. One moment you could ask him a simple question, and that simple question could turn into like 40 minutes of just wisdom.
He's the reason why I have the tough skin I have now. Not everyone gets to wake up every morning and be with such a great character.
You guys, you have to identify what the situation is. 3v2, 4v3, okay? We got 3 long poles low. We got an LSM, 2 short defensive middies, right? Going offense, you go in, and Chris comes out. All right, ready?
Coach Chuck is the inspiration. He's a really wise guy. He shares a lot of wisdom with me, gives me a lot of encouragement, and I take a lot of the advice that he uses, not just in lacrosse, but like also in life, like giving back to people that help you.
You know, a lot of people, give to causes with their checkbook. And a lot of people will show up to events. But with Chuck, it's a really remarkable degree of depth and breadth at the same time. I think you see the depth with him and how well he gets to know these kids.
All right, with 2 lines up front, 2 lines behind. So Dean attack behind, Minnie's up front, build up.
And what Chuck wants out of this experience is for the kids of Harlem Lacrosse to have every opportunity that they possibly can. And that's it.
He could have chosen anybody else's team to coach on, but he chose a bunch of gifted kids full of potential to do something with their lives. If I wake up and I know that Coach Chuck is going to be at the school and be at practice, I know that I could probably take on the world. I could take on a PLL player. Like, that's how confident I feel when I talk to Coach Chuck. And it's really amazing to have him as a coach. And not even just a coach, to have him as a friend.
Time I got some swag here.
Some matching pants. They don't pay, we get them tailored for
That is all I'm doing this for. Okay, could you grab me a glass of water down there, Chris? 'Cause I'm gonna need it. Okay, now I know why you didn't let me see that in advance. The good news is I think that got some of the emotion out that I hopefully can keep out for the next 5 or 8 or maybe 10 minutes while I try to summarize what's important about what we do at Harlem Lacrosse. Some of it's going to be a little repetitive, but there's nothing better than repeating an important message. So bear with me when I sound a little bit like Jeff and a little bit like Mike. No small coincidence, all 3 of us were goalies. There's something about a goalie, I'm sorry. There just is. Y'all thought we were crazy, and here we are. Now Jeff was smart enough to stop playing goalie after a while and learning how to throw the ball into the goal instead of getting pelted with the ball for a living. But Mike says kindred soul is a goalie. Got many people in the room here that are kindred souls as goalies. So here's a message from a goalie. So I do have notes, and part of that, I usually don't like referring to notes, but I don't want to miss anything. And if I do occasionally fall victim to emotion or long-windedness, two things I'm well known for falling victim to, I'll ask for your grace as I work through some important messages. And you've heard them, but they're worth repeating, and they're worth, I think, talking about for a few minutes. We are here to have a lot of fun and celebrate what being part of lacrosse in this community is, but we're here to work too, right? This is important work, and I've got some work to do here for the next few minutes. So the first thing I want to do is, and hopefully it'll be something you hear many times for the next 30 or 45 minutes or so as you hear from a lot of different people that are in this program. I want to say thank you. I'm humbled by the honor of being honored. Candidly, I was scared to death of it the minute Mike called me back in June, and there is a reason people ask you if you want to be honored, because there's a lot of terror that goes along with being honored because you have to deliver, right? So I immediately became consumed, as my life partner Rose can attest to, with the fear of failing. Nothing better than that as a motivator. What do I do if I don't deliver what Harlem needs from me tonight? And I'm happy to say that because of all of you and many people that aren't here and couldn't be here tonight, I have delivered. And I want to thank everybody for that. So all of those nightmares, Rose, that I woke up thinking I'd be standing here in front of an empty room, naked, with no money raised, they didn't come true, thank God. And it's all because of you guys. It's all because of the friends and the community that I'm lucky to be a part of. And we do something at Harlem Lacrosse that I really love, and it's called a shout out. It's really simple. It's an important concept, though, because we gather around our teammates, whoever they might be, and here I am with a room full of teammates, and we say thank you, or we shout out something. So we're going to get some audience interaction, because that will help you not realize that I'm going longer than I'm supposed to go. So it's a little trick, but I'm going to do some shout outs tonight. I'm going to start with one and finish with a few more. And what you all just need to do is, on cue, we give 2 sharp claps. Okay? So we really wanted people to be engaged. No. That's already been done. My good friend Judah did a really good job, and Ansame was the guy who called me out on being too long-winded in such a perfect way, right? That's what's so great about being around these young people, right? They're just so honest, and they hold you so accountable for who you are. And so that's the deal. We've already done a shout out for Chuck, so enough of that. So my first shout out is to this incredible group of people that has assembled here and has answered the call for Harlem Lacrosse and helped me not realize those nightmares that were keeping awake at night. So here's a shout out to all of you. Ready? That's pretty good. We're going to do a few more of those, all right? So what is it about this game of lacrosse that makes it such a unique and useful tool for making the world better? Jeff talked about it. I'm going to talk about it again. I'm going to sound an awful lot like some of the things that Jeff said because they're spot on, right? Making the world better is an outcome that it seems today is maybe more important than it's ever been in all of our collective lifetimes, right? And it's an outcome that makes the world better, period. And it's a sport that's set up for that. And I think this room is a testament that there is something about this game, with all due respect to all the other cool games out there, and there are plenty of them. There is something about this culture. There is something about this team. There's something about lacrosse that's different. And I know I'm speaking to a stacked audience, so I have believers in the room, but it's just true. And there's a lot of reasons for it, but you can feel it, right? And to have an ability to deliver an outcome that makes the world a better place is a real gift, okay? So what is it about the game? Why is that? I think it starts with the notion that this game finds you, right? You actually don't find this game, it finds you. And everybody in this room has their story of how lacrosse found them. Jeff talked about it, right? And when it happens, you're in, right? It changes you, right? There's just something about it, right, that just opens up a different approach, and you become part of this unbelievable community. And so in the spirit of how the game finds you, that's a lot of what we try to do at Harlem, right? It finds you, it gets in your bloodstream, it finds a special place in your heart and soul. And there is something sort of outer worldly about it. It just is. And it's a gift, right? And we all are here because of that. We all have our stories. I love the stories. I'm not going to try to tell too many of mine tonight. That's not what this is for, because they sound a lot like everybody else's stories at the end of the day, right? There's just something about this game and the journey that you go through life with because the game found you that's really unique, okay? And I think it's a game, whether you play it, coach it, or a parent, or a grandparent, brother or a sister, a friend, a fan, you're part of that team. You're part of that community. And it's an unbelievable feeling, and it really is what drives what we try to do here. Lacrosse, I think, creates a community that's found in the game that was created centuries ago by Indigenous Americans to emphasize simple things, but important things, teamwork, and how important teamwork is to survive, and how important teamwork is to thrive, right? It's a game that helps you do that as a team, right? It is a game that's designed to be inclusive. Hasn't always been as inclusive as it should be, but it's designed to be inclusive, right? Because inclusion is power. Inclusion is strength. Inclusion is how you survive. Inclusion is how you thrive. And I just think it comes so naturally to people that have been around this game. And there's millions of examples of it. How do Long Island guys get along with Baltimore guys? Yeah, that's going to work. It does, right? And there's a million stories like that, right? How do guys from New England get along with guys from upstate New York? My friends all thought I was from upstate New York. I grew up in Nyack. Anybody who knows where Nyack is knows that's not upstate New York. The problem is at Penn, we only had guys from Long Island and Baltimore. So Nyack was upstate. So I was the upstate hick until we really got smart and recruited some Syracuse guys. Then we had some real upstate hicks. And then we also got better. Guess what, right? So that's the magic, I think, of this game, right? You figure out what you're trying to accomplish, and you do it with people that aren't necessarily the same as you, right? And it's just totally natural. So we have a great opportunity. We have a great responsibility. I think it's a game and a community that needs to be a supportive community that's totally committed to an ideal of opening the gates of access to all of our young people. I'll say it again, all of our young people, so they can be optimally positioned to pursue a life of happiness. Happiness is a real motivator, right? Happiness is playing lacrosse. Happiness is being on a team. Happiness is winning over losing, but that's all part of it too, right? So I just feel like we're so well positioned to do this. I think happiness is defined by living, learning, playing, and achieving in a place that supports an enriching experience, an enriching environment, a safe environment, an environment that gives young people a chance to access the special benefits of knowing that they're a member of a deep and diverse team that ensures that no matter what, their pursuit of happiness will not be done alone. They're part of a team. They can rely on that team, and they have a responsibility to support that team. So the game finds you real quickly, I think, I hope. The game found me when I was 7, about the same age, Jeff, you talked about. Similar story here. I grew up in West Nyack, like I said, up the river, upstate to all my Long Island and Baltimore friends. Nowhere land to the guys from Syracuse. They didn't even think Rockland County existed. So in a lot of ways in lacrosse, it didn't. But a working class community, people that went to work every day, kids who went to school every day and prepared themselves for life. before my father passed away when I was just 8, he shared important things with me, and football was a common theme. That was his sport. He was passionate about sports. He loved football, played football, was a gigantic football fan, a diehard New York Giant fan. Much to his dismay, unfortunately for him, classic son-father relationship. I said, I get it, Dad, but I like the Cleveland Browns. And the reason I like the Cleveland Browns, because an unbelievable player named Jim Brown played for the Cleveland Browns. He was larger than life to me and anybody that had a chance to see him play football. He was larger than life on the field. He was larger than life off the field. And my father immediately embraced my passion for Jim Brown. Never talked me out of it, never asked me to become a Giant fan again. I did eventually, unfortunately for me, but of course the Browns aren't much better. So a classic father-son relationship. What does Dad do? The first football game I ever go to at Yankee Stadium, 1966, Giants against the Browns, to see this larger-than-life person on the field in living color. In those days, you watched football games in black and white. So when you went to a game, you just were blown away with the feeling, the green grass, the uniforms, the excitement about it. And there he was, kicking the crap out of the New York Giants, which he always did. And my father would tirelessly answer questions and tell me about Jim Brown and what was great about Jim Brown, the player, the man, the person, and never, ever wavered, never blinked, right? So he tells me a story one day. He's like, your hero, he's a lacrosse player. I'm like, well, what's that? What's lacrosse? He said, well, it's a game that was invented by indigenous Americans, and Jim Brown played it quite well, actually, in college and high school. Bang, lacrosse found me. Don't know anything about it, but he shared a story about Brown. He said, he was quoted as saying, happiness for me would be playing lacrosse 6 days a week and football on Sunday. Sold. Lightning bolt. I am going to figure this game out. So I'm going to fast forward. All the unbelievable, fortunate things that happened to me after that day, and ups and downs, we can all share. There's similar stories to the stories that everybody in this room and everybody that's part of this community has. But this is what I think is so special about lacrosse. So here I am, this larger-than-life hero. My dad, who frankly just can't stand the fact that this guy's kicking the crap out of his team every other week, but never flinched, talked very openly about what was great about Jim Brown, what was special about him, not just as a player, but as a man. And we all know the Jim Brown story. I just said, okay, I'm in. I'm going to figure this game out. So fast forward to tonight. We'll skip all the stuff from 1968 till now, 67, okay, in the interest of time, if nothing else. But I remember thinking when my dad was telling me stuff about this guy, saying this is like his team's enemy. And he's telling me all great things about this guy. That's kind of cool. I'm standing here today now at a podium, same podium that actually one Jim Brown stood at about 7 years ago when he was honored. And believe me, I'm not comparing myself to Jim Brown. Again, a moment of humility. I never got to meet the man. He sat here and received the award from Harlem Lacrosse. I wasn't there that night, unfortunately. He made a powerful speech, and he talked about how lacrosse changed his life. He talked about a gentleman in Manhasset, New York, named Ken Malloy, who took him under his wing, talked to him about lacrosse and sports and college, and basically saved his life. Sat here at this podium and talked about that saving his life. So there's that story, and there's my dad sharing the story with me. So I sit back and say, okay, two powerful forces in my life when I was 7 years old introduced this game to me. How lucky is that, right? Never met Jim Brown. My dad never saw me play a lacrosse game, never played lacrosse in his life. But they got together and created a path to a game that changed my life. Serendipity? Maybe. I think most of us who've been around this game know it's not about serendipity, right? It's about this culture, right? It's about what's special about this community. There's just something about it, and everyone in this room knows it. So that's the work of Harlem Lacrosse. I think it's all about a simple thing. That's why we're here tonight. Our work is simply to bust our collective asses to make it easier for lacrosse to find young people that are hard to find. By insisting that the benefits and opportunities that have come from such a meaningful part of the game are not limited to the geographies, ethnicities, races, socioeconomic classes that have made access easy for others and very difficult for others, right? That's our job. I think that's our collective job. That's the opportunity. That's the world-changing opportunity of lacrosse. Okay, and I just love thinking about how important it is to make it easier for lacrosse to find boys and girls that live, learn, and play in important communities like Harlem, the South Bronx, Roxbury, Dorchester, Manalapan, North and West Philadelphia, we're coming there soon, East and West Baltimore, and South Central Los Angeles. Make it easier for lacrosse to find boys and girls who have to deal with serious financial limitations, where English may not be a second language, or where the culture and social elements of their race, ethnicity, or religion create barriers, real and perceived, that challenge their ability and their desire to participate. We want the game to find them not only because they deserve to benefit from being members of this community, but because we know when we spend time with them that once found, they have the character and the potential to maximize those benefits and take those responsibilities that go with it. We use the game as a vessel for delivering a better chance through becoming a student athlete, a member of a team, and a member of a community. A better chance for all young people to pursue happiness and realize their dreams. For me, a very big reason for all this and why I'm so passionate about it, this work is the way I know how to better be sure that the joy of lacrosse stays with me for my entire life. And last now, but not least, and I did mention the unbelievable partnership we have with our schools, and I've been able to enjoy that firsthand at 223. We have the principals from 223. We have the academic deans from 223 here. The work you help us do is unbelievable. The work you do is even more unbelievable. You guys are superstars. You're gifts to our community. It's a pleasure to be around you and be a part of what you're doing. So if you'll all stand as well. And so last but not least, the student athletes. Okay, we have some student athletes here that are engaged in the program now, and they represent that 1,500 and growing body of student athletes around the country that come to work every day, and they come to work, right? They come to play, and they come to be a part of this. And then we have about 3,300 plus Harlem Lacrosse alumni out there, okay? And some are represented here tonight. So if you'll stand and represent that amazing group of people that have gone on to start changing the world. So rather than two claps, if you'll all join me in a serious round of applause for this part of our team before we have them sit down. Okay, almost there, promise. Okay, so I'm going to close my comments with a quote. And it's a quote from the master artist Picasso. Probably saying, it's kind of a weird place to go for a quote for a sports and educational event. And I would have agreed until I came across this unbelievable quote that Picasso is credited for. And I came across it years ago, and I refer to it every day. And it's very simple, and it goes like this. The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. Well, lacrosse may not look like a priceless painting, but it has been my very valuable gift. And it fortunately found me. So I want to thank all of you for being such great teammates in the process of making that gift as valuable as it's been, and in my ongoing quest to give it away. Thank you all very much.